stop those boring introductions and settle into this bio makeovers episode with me that's going to play like a masterclass. Your audience is screaming, "Get my attention!" Wake me up from this bad dream of messages that are the same from everyone. That is what they're saying without saying it. They're just in this, another idea, like Eeyore, right? You know what I'm talking about. I'm Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to She Means Fitness Business. It's a division of my overarching brand, Voice for Fitness. And at Voice for Fitness, we know you want to be an inspirational example to midlife women. In order to do that, you need a profitable health and fitness coaching business. The problem is either a lack of clients or you're charging them too little, or both. That makes you feel uncertain about whether you can succeed. We believe you deserve consistent, dependable revenue from clients that you love. And I understand exactly how where you are feels because I've been there too, which is why I now train fitness pros internationally. And here's how I do it. First, you book a call. We start getting you clients. You learn how to keep clients and get referrals from them. And then we celebrate your growth because every step of the way, those little steps in the right direction are just like one of your clients who can't lose weight, but she's sleeping better, but she has more energy, but her clothes are fitting better, but she keeps saying, but the scale isn't changing. It will when you keep doing all the right things. I promise you. And I learned that the hard way. Like the scraping fingernails on a chalkboard way, and you don't have to. So you can book a call, but in the meantime, I want you to get your health and fitness professionals scorecard. It'll be in the show notes. So you can stop feeling like your dream is slipping away while other less qualified and less heart-centered coaches make sales and get more clients. You instead can start earning and increasing your revenue by at least $5,000 a month in 90 days. And if you're way over and above that already, you're doing more than just getting started. You should be able to increase your revenue by 25% this year easily. All right, let's go back to boring makeovers. Now, here's the reason I can do this. 4 times a week, I create a podcast episode. That's right, twice for Flipping 50, twice for She Means Fitness Business. Usually 50% of those are interview videos. So my days on Thursdays and Fridays sometimes are back-to-back interviews. And a month ago, I completed 40 interviews via Zoom with people. And then at the end of that, I said, stop, we're going to do this again. We're going to record a really short clip and here's how it's going to go. So in a sense, I did 80 interviews in a very short amount of time on top of the at least 2 per week that I do on an average basis. That's a lot of interviews, my friend. I've heard a lot of people introduce themselves, but more importantly, they provide me with an intro or a bio that I read. Sometimes people, pardon my French, but it sucks. Sometimes it's hard to read, so hard to read that I change the bio before I go on. I rewrite their bio so that they sound good. Do you know why? Because as a host, for anybody who's interviewing you, whether that is your local television channel, your local radio show, it is a meeting planner who's introducing you to speak to her women's group. Your job is to make them sound good. And honestly, sometimes I get an introduction that doesn't make me sound good. And I'm going to explain it. There are trainers and coaches and podcasters that are pining for invites to speak on podcasts or appear in the news. But when you get the chance, don't blow it with a wimpy introduction. Imagine this. I've used this analogy before. Bear with me if you've heard it, but you're going through that line at a wedding reception and you get a limp noodle. It's cold and it's clammy and it is like barely there. It's like, is anybody living in that body? I mean, there is no firmness. No, I am really happy to meet you. Hi, isn't this great? We're all here. Firm handshake. No, it's just like, here's my hand. Whatever you want to do with it, do with it. That is like, what? You don't want a bio that reads like that. Okay. So this is partially very selfish because if you are a fitness pro or a health coach listening, especially if you've gone through the menopause fitness specialist, I want to interview you. For some of you, a couple of years ago, that was actually one of the perks. It was guaranteed. I would give you a spot on the Flipping 50 show, and I would give you a spot on She Means Fitness Business. It wasn't called that at the moment. We had a name change, but that's like putting you in front of 150,000 people. You're welcome. But I don't treat that lightly. That means you better have a dynamic introduction that says to me, I believe in myself, and here's why you should listen to me. And you say it with that tone of voice. That's what your introduction should say. And it should also somewhat say, and this is going to be a lot of fun. Buckle your seatbelt because here we go. But instead, I often get nice bios. I get nice descriptions of degrees and of certifications. And I get what they think and that they live with their husband and children and 2 dogs and maybe a cat and a bird. And, my audience doesn't really care if they don't know yet how you can help them get more energy, lose weight, fix a problem that they're waking up in the middle of the night with. That's really important. So you want to be sure, read your own bio out loud. Would you like to read that? Does it say anything really about how what you're about to say is going to help the audience? Because remember, that's why people are tuning in. They're not tuning in because they're bored out of their mind and they want to hear your story. Not unless you climbed Kilimanjaro blindfolded without a shirt on. I mean, you've got to have done something really pretty big. I mean, even today, a New York Times bestseller is not that big of a deal. If you're a podcast listener, you listen to plenty of podcasts where New York Times bestselling authors are interviewed. So it's not the fact that they wrote the book. It's the fact that maybe the title is sassy and is going to get your attention, or it's the fact that they're coming on and they're going to say something that is going to shock you and that you're hanging on the edge of your seat. It's got to be like a movie trailer. Listen, I want to tell you a story, and this is like true story in history. So if you are a basketball fan, and maybe you're not normally, but in March, sometimes it's hard to go against the grain. So with March Madness, you may be outvoted in your household or friend circle. So the University of Iowa, if you know Caitlin from the University of Iowa, you know that she is like one of the best in the nation. And they are saying we've never seen anything like it. And she is young and she's going to be back. And she's been amazing. And unfortunately, the Iowa Hawkeye women lost. They didn't make it all the way. And there's heartbreak over that, but there is excitement. And after the game, she was interviewed, and this isn't the first time. She's interviewed many, many times because she is just a standout. A standout. It's like she doesn't do anything wrong. And she's a wonderful person. She's a wonderful personality. She's easy to like and cheer for physically because she doesn't have any negative track record right now. We all know how easy that is to happen to athletes of any level. But she was asked, do you think you are the best in the world? Is something like the question went. This isn't, don't quote me on this, but you've been said, that you are the greatest in the world. Do you believe that? She said, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what I'm saying to you. You need to own it. Whatever you are coming on to say, whatever message you are planning on delivering, you have to deliver it with a little bit of passion that I'm delivering this to you. And I'm probably a little bit more wound up about this content than a lot of content that I've given you before. When I teach you a marketing or a sales strategy, that's one thing. But when I am talking to you, health and fitness professional, I know that for 40 years I've hung out with you. I have been you for the first 10. And then for the last 30, I have heard over and over and over again my students, my mentees, the trainers and health coaches, but mostly trainers at that point that were working for me. I've heard them complain about I can't get enough work. I don't have enough clients. And, but they don't like sales, but they don't come on with any force, nothing. They're, the thing that ticks them off is, I can't believe she didn't want to buy training from me. They're going to go and try it on their own, or they're going to go in and consult with one of their kids who knows how to exercise or is an exercise fanatic. I have a degree is what trainers would say to me. And it's just like, what are you doing with it? Right? I mean, can you convince anybody that that's worth something? Because nobody really cares about your degree. Nobody really cares. When I read a bio about doctors in the university and where it was they did their residence, the eyes are rolling back. Not only in my head as I read it, that's not all that interesting. But for a listener, they aren't going to remember that. At the end of the podcast, are you kidding me? Nobody remembers where you got your degree. All they know is, okay, that's an MD, or maybe that's an ND, a naturopath. And that's it. That's all they care about. Okay, check that box. They got it. But they could care less about what it was from. That's not an interesting thing necessarily to say. So I have a BS. I mean, you can call that what you want, an MS, both from Iowa State University. I taught at Iowa State University for 15 years in kinesiology. And rarely do I say all of those things. It's not that important. It's not that significant. What have you done lately? And what have you done for your audience? More important. So if you don't right now have a ton of experience, I want you to stay tuned. So this is not about you saying, well, I have 39 years of experience, because I do say that. And I say this specifically. I say I have 39 years of full-time experience because look, you tell me you have 20 years of experience and you've been teaching a fitness class 5 to 10 hours a week. That is not the same thing. All right. It's just not, but we tend to pull the wool over people's eyes, and we do it potentially. I'm going to ask you this. It's rhetorical because it's a one-way street when we do these podcasts. You kind of buy into it yourself as if you have 20 years of experience, but you're forgetting this is not even full-time work. You're 30 hours away potentially from full-time work, and you're trying to convince somebody you've become an expert. I mean, if you've read the books, you've read the studies, what does it take to become an expert? At least 5,000 hours, and other sources say 10,000. Have you gotten those reps? I mean, it's really important that you consider, say the truth, say the things that truly matter. But the things that really matter to somebody are only number 4 is education. People don't care until they know how you're going to help them and what problem you're going to fix. So I would lead with that. So let's do this. If your host is not going to be excited to read a bio, redo it. Read your own dang bio. If you were going to host you, would you be excited about it? If there's nothing to tell your listener that you are an expert that can help them, redo it. If you cringe when it's read, like you are like, redo it. You should feel good. When somebody reads it, you should not be looking down. Pace yourself. You're going to have to try the next time you get introduced. Some podcast guests. Now, I don't do video, so I don't see this, but when I have video on just to connect with my host and we're doing audio, a lot of times, and while I was doing the interviews on video for my guests in the What, the When, and the Why to Exercise for Women Over 40 online event. By the way, that's May 1st through 7th. I'll put the link in the show notes. You should be there because it's a fantastic resource. It is a network of people you should know and connect to. And my guess is you're going to learn something that was new to you. I got 40 years in on this full time. Did I mention that? And I learned a lot in asking these experts, or had vetted my homework before I got there. This is really important. But I noticed during the interviews as I read those, my interviewees focused. They kept looking at the screen and they would nod. Yes, I did that. Like sense of pride, not sense of embarrassment that I'm reading something that either isn't quite true or on the other side just is like soft and fluffy. It was just like, yeah, I did that. Like, I introduced JJ Virgin and although we didn't necessarily say this in her bio, I mean, she wrote Warrior Mom when her son, she was telling the story about her son, but she wrote her very first book, I think it was Sugar Impact, while she was sitting bedside with her son who had been in a devastating accident and had like a sliver, I mean, a fraction of a percentage chance to live without brain damage. And that's where she was when she wrote that book. So you bet when you read her bio, she sits up taller. And it's like, yeah, that's me. I did that. I deserve to be here. And I deserve to be talking to you because I've got a track record to prove it. And I believe in this and put everything on the line in order to do it. That's how you need to feel. Are you willing to do that? Because if you're coming onto podcasts or hoping that you'll get booked to get famous, no, the attitude that you deserve to be here and that you would put everything on the line to do this has to be there first. And I don't know, maybe you get that. Maybe I got that because I did. I had like $13,000 in my bank account and I was scared. I mean, like, and it was me. I didn't have a job. I had quit to become self-employed. And that first 11 months of self-employment, there was a lot more going out than coming in because I was learning, taking courses, I was studying, I was being coached, paying coaches to coach me to accelerate my learning curve and to get things going. And I had to put my house up for sale. And I had said at the beginning, I'm doing that. If I'm not where I need to be, I will do that. Boom, careful. The universe is listening, by the way, to everything you say. So think twice before you do that again. I might not do that again, but you want to make sure that it's something that you would sit up and you would say, yep, I did that. And you can listen to it without embarrassment and say, absolutely, that's true. You want to feel good about it. So let's write a bio you feel great about. All right. There should be at least 6 notable things. Use this as a gauge or measuring stick. 6 notable things that somebody learns about you in that introduction. If there aren't, redo it. If there isn't something unique, distinct, a description that's distinct of you that nobody else can insert their name into, redo it. And if there isn't something in the bio that makes people sit up and smile, bio makeover coming up. Let's talk about mistake number 1, providing information that's subjective. And what do I mean by that? So if you have a degree, it's objective. I mean, I'm not going to come over there and demand your diploma or say, show it to me sitting on the wall there. I'm not going to do that. Not going to look at it with a magnifying glass and make sure that's truly embossed. But you do want to say things that are proven, things that are true. How many people have you helped? How many people have gone through your programs? More than 250,000 you will hear in my bio because that's true. And you want to say, as featured in, where have you been published? Whether you have been written about, quoted in a Reader's Digest article, Shape magazine, something local or regional for you, those things you can say. As seen in, maybe you appear regularly at women's health events and you have a booth and maybe you also do a presentation. You could also use that as an as featured in kind of thing that is true and clear. You could use a testimonial. This is what so-and-so from the blah, blah, blah Chamber of Commerce said about. This is what maybe a fitness association upper level authority said something about you or wrote praise for an article, something that you did, that would be a reason to post something that is subjective, or that is objective. I'm sorry. So the subjective things, let me give you an idea. Like Andrea, let's pick on Andrea just because it's an A name. I don't know who Andrea is. Andrea's programs are fill in the blank. And instead of blank, they do blank. Now, if I read some statement like that, Andrea's programs are unique and creative. And instead of being boring and abusive to your body and your energy, they do the opposite and give you more energy. If I read something like that, that feels like an opinion. And if I'm reading it, it's an opinion I don't even have. I don't even know the programs. Do not put something like that in your bio, because if it's not cut out, it should be cut out and your host is a novice. This is just not something you want, right? So if I have to read that, it implies that I, as the host, think that. Rarely do I have enough background on my interviewees to have that kind of an impression, number one, with a guest, but I would still never say that unless it were true. I have interviewed, well, recently I had a reason to introduce a colleague of mine, Sherry Clark. I invited her to the Flipping 50 retreat in March, and she attended as a guest coach who presented on one of our Saturday afternoon events. And in introducing her, I let them know why I introduced her, in that what it is her unique gift, why I brought her in. And there's nothing more special than saying, here's my audience. I want you to come in and be a part of this with my audience. Having a guest on your show, whether it's a podcast or it's a retreat, you put people in front of people who have put their trust in you. That's a big deal. So again, if you're the guest, don't screw it up. Okay. You got the date. If you're a best-selling author or simply an author, I can say that. So the author of the book, blah, 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 give me the title. If you've authored X amount of articles, if you've authored, maybe you can't say or published anywhere else, but what if you'd authored, 107 blog posts related to, do you want to say that on your website? You might think about it. If you've created a program intended for XYZ, maybe it's menopausal women, based on the principles of, what are your principles? You should have a principle or a method. I can say that because it's a fact. But don't give me something that sounds subjective as if it sounds like it's my opinion, because really it's not. It's yours as you wrote it. But you're putting words in my mouth that are uncomfortable. So if you have soft information that sounds like opinion and the news would not publish it, your local news station would not publish it, you have Bio Makeovers 101 to go through. So here are facts to include. You can include facts like, and list these out. So get a piece of paper, write facts, and under facts, write certifications, write degrees, write books you've authored. That can be self-published or otherwise. Appeared in magazines. Maybe you contributed to books, a chapter in a book. What magazines have you appeared in? That could be digital in this day and time or hardcover. What awards have you won? And I'm not talking about the gunny sack race in junior high. Okay. So what awards related to your profession? Published in. Where have you been published? If you're not published at all, let's get you published. So you could offer to write a blog post for a colleague. You could write a post or article for Medium. If you don't know what that is, check it out. But it gets you published. It gives you credibility. You get a bio in there. You get links in there. And I wouldn't plan on doing a one-off, like one article, and then that's done. What I would plan on is come up with a series of 4 or 5, and then very slowly begin to plot them, plan them, put them out, share them, because that's what gives you lift. Share them with all your friends and say, I'd love you to go on and give me a clap, and then continue to drip things out on a regular basis. Now you can say published in Medium, right? Frequent contributor to, is there something that you write for? Do you write for the local paper? Maybe you should if you don't, right? A regular contributor to, a local columnist for, that has clout. Are you a frequent speaker at? Have you spoken at women's events locally, regionally, nationally? Include that. Are you a frequent speaker somewhere, women's clubs, church organizations? As seen in, mentioned that a little bit ago. But all of these things answer the question that your listener is begging for you to answer, and that is, why are you the expert? Why are you here? Why are you in my ear right now? Without telling someone you're the expert, how do you tell them? Does that sound like a social media meme? Okay, well, it's a good one. Instead of just hormone balancing fitness expert or menopause fitness expert, I tell them I'm the TEDx speaker of, and the title of my TEDx talk is relevant to what I've done. TEDx is an authority, right? I tell them the creator of the Flipping 50 Menopause Fitness Specialist course. And, you're going to answer that question somehow for yourself. Why should they listen with a dozen other things that they can do and 100 other podcasts that they can tune in for? Why you? You want to tell them why this is going to be wildly fun. Are you going to make a special approach? I will tell you that a good friend of mine and a colleague is, some of you have heard him on the podcast before, Stu Schaefer comes on, and, Stu is also a trainer. Stu has 20 some years of experience, so we have very parallel backgrounds. Why would I bring him on? You might ask. Well, because different sources of input, hearing the same thing sometimes said in different words or in a different voice will resonate with you differently. This is what a good coach does. It's what an educator does. We're not trying to be right. We're not trying to be the right person for everyone, but we're trying to also offer you the right voice so that when you are ready, you take a step and you do it with the voice that felt like, this kind of hit me right. This feels good. I could listen to this voice. I could take authority from this voice. I would also recommend, because I do this too, right? There are certain voices I think I could never listen to that. This is, for me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. I'm guessing that's not true of my voice. I hope not anyway, because otherwise you're painfully 27 minutes into this podcast, and I don't know why you would do that. But there are those voices and those people that maybe rubbed you wrong from the very beginning. And it's always worth examining, what is it about them? And usually this is the painful answer. There's a piece of you that you see in them that you don't like. I'm just letting that sit with a pregnant pause. But often that is it. When there's something about a voice that we don't like, something about a person, I think we worry, we wonder if it causes something that is true about ourselves and emotions that we have to bubble up, and we don't like it. That's a talk for a whole other podcast. Okay. Don't blow your walk on me. So I want you to do this. You want to make sure you state your full name. This is also an error, believe it or not, with podcast guests. They don't even add their name. They book the show, so I know who it is, but they don't include their own name in their bio. That seems odd to me, but be sure that you include it. And if you have a hard to pronounce name, put the pronunciation. Like it sounds like she-wa. Like if it's she-wa, okay, send me S-H-E-E, long E, wa. Tell me how to pronounce it, because inevitably I will trip over my own tongue. And a lot of people need that too. And I will ask often before I go live on the show with someone, how do I pronounce your name? And how do you prefer that I address you? If it is a doctor, in fact, if I'm addressing somebody who's got a formal title, do you prefer doctor and your first name, doctor, your last name? What's your, ideal in front of an audience? That's an important piece. So whichever side of the microphone you might be on, include that. If you have a business or a title associated with your business, include that. So when you write away, that gives you clout. So this is, Emily. She's the owner and founder of, or the CEO and founder of ABC Business, or the host of do you have a podcast? The host of the Flipping 50 TV show. So I have 39 episodes. We haven't done a season for a little while. Pandemic killed us in there. But that is something that we often will say in a bio, less so now because you want to stay relevant. So it's kind of like a resume. You want to do it over regularly. And you may have different bios, by the way, for different audiences. If you have a title like hormone balancing fitness expert, I will use that. Fitness business marketing surgeon, I will also use that. So if you're looking for not just help with marketing, but you're looking for why does your marketing suck, I will help you with that. Pardon my French. You want to pack 3 credentials into your name. So right before them and or right after it. Here's an example. I'm going to give you 2 of them. Hormone balancing fitness expert and best-selling author. So I did A plus B. Deborah Atkinson is a 39-year full-time international fitness professional. So I actually got 4 credentials in there, right? Hormone balancing fitness expert, best-selling author, 39-year full-time international fitness professional. How can you pack them in? Every word in that sentence counts. Make it work. Another one, functional health coach and TEDx speaker. Deborah Atkinson is the founder of Flipping 50 and creator of the Flipping 50 Menopause Fitness Specialist. Again, how many did I pack in there? You want a minimum of 3. That was 4. What else can you do? Okay. I will tell you that there is the method of 3s that can be really effective. So use 3s because A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, right? There's a little alliteration and rhythm that comes with things in 3s. So you might want to try to search for, 3 different things. Start doing this now. So you can start before you even have a book or a podcast or 3 million downloads on your podcast and a TEDx talk. You don't have to have those things. You can start without 4 decades of experience. An article, an award, blended a 20-year teaching career. Maybe that's what you did. 20-year teaching career blended with your passion for exercise and advocacy for women. You now have this trilogy of what makes you unique, right? Maybe you lost weight yourself. How much? At what age did you off? How long have you kept it off? What did you discover along the way? That makes you now unique because you not only did it yourself, you're showing other women how to do it. You have a proven track record, and that matters. Okay. So I gave you a lot to think about, but really I want to recap. Go back to your homework. First of all, in the first line, can you get my attention? Can you make me feel like, oh my goodness, this is somebody I need to know? My title, hormone balancing fitness expert, that is something somebody will say, well, I haven't heard that before. Functional health coach, everybody's heard. Health coach, personal trainer. Everybody's heard them. But if you have a title you can come up with for yourself that not everyone has heard, you want to use that in your introduction. You can also look for another podcast where I covered how not to write a boring bio. And I have a freebie for you as well. And I'm going to go over that and put that in the link. So link to the show notes today will be at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/bio makeovers. And I'm going to do this in a little series. I did not know I was going to, but this kind of tumbled out. Part 2 is going to be how to interview and get invited back. So if we get you the bio, we got you that far, you need to know what else do you need to be responsible for as the guest. You don't just show up and smile. You have a responsibility, and there's a good way and a bad way to answer questions. There is an ideal, this guest is so fun for the host, making you popular before you're even done. And that is what I want for you. So stay tuned. In the next episode, I'm going to share that. Meanwhile, big favor to ask. We are right now in the middle of promotion, if you're listening live, in April of 2023 for the What, the When, and the Why exercise for women over 40. It's an online event. It's live on May 1st through 7th, and you can get access to it. It's all for free. If you feel like this would be a great resource or you want the convenience of listening, not under the pressure of, okay, you've got to listen to all these today or you're going to be gone, you purchase them. They will probably be one of your libraries that you will go back to again and again. And yes, science changes, but these topics are gold, and you will pick up other resources, not only the individual who's my guest, who should be in your network if this is a problem for your audience members, but also they mentioned resources within it, and you can watch them for research, literally the hard science that's coming out. So you want to stay tuned to that. Get in yourself, but please share it with your audience. And if I were you, here's how I would leverage this for your publicity. Number one, you can be an affiliate. Reach out to me and I will share with you how to do that. So if you're going to promote to your audience, you could get credit for affiliate marketing and earn money. A lot of people, actually, we've had a high rate of people buying the recordings right out of the gate, higher than normal. So chances are this has not been done before. An exercise specific summit based on science for women over 40. So be there, be the first. But try starting a group. If you already have a group, do a review with the group about what happened, what your thoughts were, what your questions are after the talks. You can round that up and you can make this something that you use to grow your business too. Hope that was helpful. All right, what are you waiting for? The world needs us right now more than ever. Show notes again will be at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/bio makeovers.